Okay, here we go. Just be honest. Give your honest opinion. That's all you can do. You know, this is a review. What reviews are just me expressing my own feelings to everyone else to see if they agree or not. So reviews are really not purposely for people. This is purposely because we want to talk about a movie that we like or not like. So let's do it. Tarantino, 9th film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is the 9th film directed by Quentin Tarantino. He also wrote this movie and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, and a bunch of other people. But those are our 3 stars, you could say. The movie is set in 1969. Leo plays Rick Dalton, who is a Western star on a TV show. That's over with, and he's going to make a jump into movies now, and it's 1969, and he is trying to be movies with this stunt double who is Brad Pitt, who is Cliff Booth, and basically these two are buddies. They want to make it. They're trying their very best. There's stuff around them that is not working out. But also, it is 1969, and Leo's neighbor is Sharon Tate and the famous director Roman Polanski. I can't say his name right. Polanski or something like that. So, if you know the story behind Sharon Tate in the year 1969 of August 9th or August 8th, then you know certain things that happen. Let's get into it, guys. This movie has been so amped for me, guys. Like, going into this movie, I had expectations. Expectations that I really shouldn't do. I hate doing that. I hate going into a movie predicting and wanting things that I want to happen in a movie. A movie is supposed to be a writer and director of storytelling or something like that to let the audience express and how they feel and stuff like that. So this movie, I was going into experiencing this type of excitement level. I was like, I want to do this movie. I hope this happens, And I've been excited for this movie since they announced Leo was going to be in the next Tarantino movie. And Leo hasn't done a movie since The Revenant. So seeing him back in a movie was like heaven to me, honestly. So what did I think about Tarantino, and does this compare to Pulp Fiction? I'll say this is definitely not Hateful Eight, Django, Pulp Fiction, Glorious Bastards. It's not those amazing classic movies in my opinion, but it can be. I think this movie is going to be very good to a lot of people first viewing, and then the second viewing it's going to grow and you're going to think about it even more, because after seeing it for a first time you want to see it again because there's things that you noticed you want to revisit and maybe predict and stuff like that. It's one of those movies, and that's strange coming from Tarantino, because usually Tarantino, his writing and dialogue is usually straightforward. It's amazing, classic stuff like that. This movie is very, very different from his other movies, which can be a bad thing, but that's what I was saying at the beginning of the video. You don't want to go into a movie having expectations that you want. You go into a Tarantino movie expecting great dialogue, characters, stuff like that, and a narrative that can lead to something very intense, bloody, stuff like that. This movie has a lot of those things, and it doesn't have some of those things, which I won't spoil. So let's get into the positives. First things first, Leonardo DiCaprio, like I said, seeing him back was amazing. He is so great in this role, and there's stuff he does as a character to this actor who is trying to make it in this movie, trying to do his best. There are some scenes that are Oscar worthy. There is something he does with this character that is so tiny that I noticed. I was like, is that something is that going to come up in the story? It never comes up in the story. It's something the character does that might have been Tarantino's decision, or it might have been a Leo decision. I'm not sure. Either way, Leonardo was so good in this role. He was so funny. Leonardo is such an underrated comedic actor in his roles. There are scenes in this movie that are gut-busting hilarious from him. It is great, and there's dramatic scenes, there's intense scenes. He plays this role perfectly. But the one that really steals the show is Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is as the stunt double. He's got some history that I won't get into that I will say is super interesting to his character, even though it doesn't get fully resolved, which I like. There's stuff that doesn't get resolved about his character that I like that we don't know the answer to. But him as a character and as a person, he is so good. He is meant for Tarantino dialogue, Brad Pitt, and he's perfect. Their chemistry. This movie, with an ensemble cast like this, you would think it's an ensemble movie. It's really not. It's a best friend movie. These two are best friends. Their chemistry, I mean, it's so good. Like, it's ridiculously good. I love their chemistry. Every actor in this movie, even though I'm going to get to some negatives in a minute, even though all these actors don't have a bunch of screen time, every actor makes their presence. They all have a scene. They all are great actors, because you're not going to be in a Tarantino movie without having some acting chops. Every single person that was on screen was great, like was a really good actor, and everyone deserves to have a role. There is a little girl in this movie who plays an 8-year-old. She is a scene stealer. She has one of the best scenes between her and Leo in this movie. It's like an 8-minute scene of them talking about a certain thing that was literally, this was Tarantino dialogue out of the script. Like, this was literally like, I was like, this is amazing dialogue. This is what I wanted to see in this movie. This is something I wanted. I wanted to see a scene about something small turn into an 8-minute dialogue scene, which I loved. And I will say this, the first hour of this movie, you really don't know where this movie is going. And that's where some issues come into play, where some characters in this movie, like Bruce Lee, he's in the movie, but he feels so wasted. And speaking of wasted, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate. When she's in it, she's usually dancing or doesn't say a word. And that's kind of disappointing. She feels a little wasted, in my opinion. And for playing Sharon Tate, you would think she's more viable in this movie. She really wasn't. There are many scenes in this movie where you're just like, what are we just watching her dance? Like, what's going on here? There is many times seeing Brad Pitt driving a car for like 5 minutes with the music blaring and showing scenery, and this is the scenes I'm like, you're just giving Hollywood a love letter right now, which I understand, but it didn't need to be 5 minutes long. This movie could have been cut down because it's almost 3 hours long, but some scenes could have been cut down dramatically. And I will say this, going in this movie, I was excited to see Charles Manson, seeing what they were going to do. I do know that he has said that's a fallback, that's not the main story of this movie, and you guys should listen to that, because Charles Manson, his storyline, that whole arc in this movie, it does come into the play at the very end, but throughout this movie, throughout most of the movie, it is not a Charles Manson movie, and the actor that plays Charles Manson, first things first, he's good because he's in it for 22 seconds. That is it. He's literally in this movie for 20 seconds, so do not go in this movie thinking Charles Manson's in the whole movie. He's our main bad guy. You see him more in the trailer than you do in the movie, which can be disappointing, or depends how you look at it, because there are certain writing aspects. After watching this movie, I spent 2 hours thinking, why was this in this? And then I sat down, I thought, and then I got to conclusions of why certain things happened, and then I started to think, Tarantino is a master at writing. The writing in this movie is so great. The dialogue is crisp. I mean, we all knew that. I mean, there are just great story imagery moments that are in the script that get put on the screen, and then you think about it and you're like, so that's what that means. And then there's something to do with the title itself and how is that presented to us in the movie that I will not spoil, because if you can really think about it, it is amazing writing. So I won't spoil anything about that stuff. But obviously, let's talk about the ending. The scene that every single person is going to be talking about this movie. I won't spoil it. The ending is going to be so controversial, and so people may see it. For me, honestly, I loved the ending. I loved a certain scene. It was perfect Tarantino. I loved it. It was perfect. It was intense. It was super funny, and it was super great. And by the way, this movie is his funniest movie, hands down. I laughed from beginning to end. This movie really does rely on comedy. I can almost say this movie is a comedy, and it's a laid-back comedy. There are scenes where people are just talking. The first hour and a half, yes, there are some characters that are completely useless. Yes, there's scenes that just feel like, all right, what are we doing here? What are we leading to? There's a little separate story with Brad Pitt and this girl, whatever, but what is everything leading to? There are times where you're thinking, what are things leading to? But if you go back and rewatch the movie, which I will do this weekend, there are things that they do in the very beginning that come to the very end. That is smart writing, and I love when the movie doesn't just spill out to the audience, hey, this is that. But there is a narration in this movie that just completely annoyed me. It did not need to be here. This narration, Tarantino does this sometimes with his movies. This narration did not need to be in this movie. It felt so like, we get it. You're narrating, but there is great writing, but then you narrate some certain scenes that you're like, okay, we get it. We know what's happening. Stop narrating. We don't need someone to narrate saying, hey, he's smoking a joint. I get it. Anyways, so overall, This is not your usual Tarantino movie. This is a very laid-back, different Tarantino. Super funny, super well acted, super well writing because we all knew that was going to happen. But it's a movie that if it's over and it makes me want to go back and rewatch it, that means it did something right. I'm going to give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood an A. I'm not kidding, guys. I literally saw this movie probably 2.5 hours ago. I sat here thinking, should I see it again before I do a review? Because I really wanted to maybe do that. But I sat back and I just had to think about things. This is a movie you have to think about when it's over. Because like I see with a group of people and the people ask me right away, what did you think? Well, I'm not gonna lie, when this movie ended, I was disappointed. Like, that's my honest, straight up answer. When this movie was over, I was like, it's not what I wanted. But again, I went to this movie thinking Charles Manson, Tarantino, it's it's almost 3 hours long. We are going to get a Charles Manson Hollywood kind of movie. It's not that. It's not what it wanted to be. It's not what it's supposed to be. It has those things, but it's about friendship and Hollywood, and it is a love letter, which can be a con on itself. Anyway, guys, if you guys enjoyed this review, go see this movie. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought. What did you think of this movie? And be honest. And give it a good hour to think about the whole movie. Don't just instantly tell me. Because when it's over and you can tell me, you're going to tell me, I'm disappointed. Give it some time. Let it marinate. Go see it again. Because I will definitely see it again this Saturday or Sunday. Anyway, guys, if you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys next time.